9 years today in the same club is an eternity.
Guardiola's future, that's going to be a huge soap opera. He's going to be asked about it every single week.
Contract's up in the summer.
They're going to say, I'm off.
Pep Guardiola is planning to leave Manchester City.
The elephant in the room, of course, is the manager going to stay?
I'm not moving, I can assure you.
So there we have it. That man, our legend, Pep Guardiola, has signed a 2-year extension. And I think, like me, all Manchester City fans were thinking, well, Christmas has come early. Brilliant news out of the club this week. We'll be getting into that more in just a second. But welcome along to Matchday Live. We are bringing you live pictures from outside the ETIHAD Stadium as we build up to this tantalising clash as we welcome Tottenham Hotspur to the ETIHAD Stadium. Savio there making his way off the bench, followed by Matheus Nunes. I can also tell you, and I'm delighted to say, that our Ballon d'Or winner, Rodri, will be back in the stadium later this evening in what is sure to be a very special night at the Etihad. Looking at today's game then, we'll be hoping this man might be making an appearance. Will he start? Will he be on the bench? I'll be bringing you that news shortly. But of course, we're going to be hoping to get back to winning ways against a tough opposition in Spurs, as we know. Slightly struggling there before the international break, but we'll be hoping the omen that we are unbeaten in our last 14 Premier League games after they've come after an international break, that run will continue. My name is Kel Spellman and I can bring you our starting 11. It looks like this. There we are, in goal, the ever-present Ederson starts our starting 11, followed by Mr. Kyle Walker, of course, our club captain. John Stones in defence, alongside number 25, Manuel Akanji, rounding off as well with none other than the ever-present Josko Gvardiol. What a season he's been having so far, along with that young man there, Rico Lewis, back into the fold, alongside Ilkay Gundogan. And there he is, the little magician, Bernardo Silva as well. Moving up to the forward line, we have Savio, alongside Phil Foden. And completing our starting 11, there he is, Mr. Erling Haaland, our number 9. Good afternoon. What a treat to be with you. My name is Kel Spellman and I am alongside Mr. Michael Brown and welcoming back a legend in the form of Ledley King. Good afternoon, gents. Now, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Christmas has come early, City fans. Pep Guardiola signing that 2-year extension. It feels we should start there, Michael, because it is such massive news for the club and for the fans as well, of course.
It was lingering on for quite a while. I'm wondering if was this going to be the time where Pep says farewell?
Yeah.
And just after the run of games as well, 4 defeats, uncertainty, people talking a lot about it in the outside media, the world of football, sort of saying that's probably one of the reasons why the team are struggling, and I didn't think that was the case. And now to have the positive announcement this week after the international break, I think it's come at a really good time in a big game here at the Etihad. It's great news, it's exciting for football, and for the manager wanting to stay longer. I think that tells you the support he's got at the football club and what he believes can continue and bring more trophies. So it's brilliant news.
It really, really is brilliant news. And Ledley, just from an opposition fan's point of view, is it mixed emotions? Is it happy for the league? Sad because we know how much he's dominated English football.
No, I think the Premier League's a better place with Pep in it. He's kind of changed football in this country, and he seems to be forever trying to find new ways of kind of improving the game. And I think he's been great for the Premier League. So, I'm still glad he's going to be knocking around, but I'm not playing anymore. which is probably a little bit easier. But no, I think it's great news for the Premier League.
You mentioned it there, Michael. Obviously, there was questions that was the 4 losses before the international break, maybe to do with the uncertainty. You said it wouldn't, but it didn't have anything to do with that. Will that settle the squad though now, and also just over these next 2.5 years as well, that we have that stability and we know what the club infrastructure is going to look like? I
think it's come as a shock, hasn't it, the results that we've had, but I think you've got to look at the injuries right throughout that defensive line. Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne are sort of just seeks away. I've just done something outside on it, and they're saying that we're almost forgetting about how good Kevin De Bruyne is. and how long he's been out, and that's such a key to this team. But yeah, I think people were starting to look and sort of saying they're trying to come up with what's happening. But it is just the injuries. I think there is uncertainty around the manager. You know, if I'm a player and my contract's coming towards the end, then you're sort of saying, well, what's a new manager going to bring? Have I got a future here? And somebody maybe who isn't playing might think the new manager's just around the corner. It might come as a bit of a shock for them. I think it always, you know, there's some people in the building that want changes. That's normal in every playing dressing room. But I think there is a unity within this squad that shows you how relentless they've been to keep winning, to keep delivering. They realise that the club's the most important thing, and that the team is definitely right at the forefront. It's not about individuals, even though we've got some special ones, and you have to fit in. And the manager's no different. He creates that vibe, and I just think now it just shuts a few people up. I think for recruitment as well. Yeah. I think it's important because maybe the football club are always looking to strengthen, and then you know who that manager is now, and everybody wants to come and work with Pep. Yes. So I think it's coming a really good time, and I think it's got a good reaction. I expect the team to have that very shortly.
Absolutely. We speak about the team, and just to say, just a final word on Pep, Ledley, and looking more at just his impact on football in England. Can that be understated, just how much of an effect and how much he's influenced the modern game in which we see today?
No, I don't think it can. And you know, I think when we look at his place in history, you know, when it's all said and done, he'll be right up there amongst the very best that's ever managed in the Premier League. So, yeah, you know, as I say, he's forever changing the game, tweaking things.
But what's impressed you so much about him, though? Do you know when you've looked from an outside sort of, what are you sort of saying? What's he brought different? You had some top managers, you know.
Yeah, you know, when I was coaching, and you know, you're trying to set up a team to play against his side, it was very, very difficult at that period. You know, you're just thinking, we want to press them, but we know that they're so good in possession that, you know, we almost can't play the game we want to play. Yes. Because they will punish us, and that's what they've been doing to teams. You know, you see how comfortable they are in possession, and they almost want to be pressed so they can play around there and create spaces. So they're a very difficult team, and as I say, what I like about him is that he's forever trying to find a new way. You know, we understand in the Premier League teams will work things out.
He's got another answer,
and he's always trying to find something different. Always, yeah.
Speaking of that then, trying to find an answer, let's look at today's starting 11. And Michael, we were coming into it.
I know where you're going with this, come on.
Well, first of all, we roughly know it's going to be a 4-3-3.
Who's going to play in midfield? That's what you're saying.
That's the question. What are we thinking in here, Michael?
I just wish I'd had a little bit more time to drift around to get an idea on it, because you might get, it's a very, very tight that you don't get much out until that whistle starts. I know that. Whenever you've been in a commentary position, etc. Rico Lewis can go slot in there, can go do a really good job. We've seen him in the midfield area. John Stones, I think, when Rodri got that injury, would have been one person who you'd said could go and play in there, just in front of the defence, really comfortable on the ball, and he's got that longer range passing as well. I think that he can go from side to side to create 1v1s in the wider areas quicker. So it might not be today where John goes in, because also as well, you're coming back from injury, it might not be your first game to go and jump in somewhere that's a little bit physically more demanding. Yes. In that position. So he might just stick with Rico, but listen, he's got both options there.
Got both options there as well. And then the other option is, Ledley, is if we have Bernardo out on the right and Foden more central, or he puts Foden maybe more out on the left if Savio's on the right, and bring Bernardo into the middle. Who would you think who has the most impact more in the middle? Would it be Bernardo or Phil for you?
I'd probably say Bernardo, but you know, I think he's used to playing on the left a little bit more. Yeah. So I think Bernardo probably is a little bit more suited in there. They both would like to play that position, I think, inside. But he's got options to change it around, you know, and that's the dangerous thing. You know, if things are not working, he can mix it around and change it up. But you know, when I've looked at City this season, they seem to be lacking goals when I look at them. We know Haaland scores every week, it seems, but you know, the Foden, I don't think he scored a Premier League goal this season, has he? Yeah. I don't think so. Savio, not enough goals. I think De Bruyne is obviously the big miss. He's the one that gets them playing, and he's a creative spark. So it'd be interesting to see today who does play on the wing, and you know, what kind of productivity they can get from them.
It is in the full-back areas where sometimes he does change that depending on who you're coming up against. So, for instance, if it's a particular a wing-back where someone's got really powerful runs down the side, you might go, well, OK, I can't have a Doku and a Savinho. I need a Phil Foden or a Bernardo who can do both.
Yes.
So I think flexibility is there for them both.
Their fullbacks coming inside a lot, don't they? So you don't see them overlapping or getting forward. They play very much inside, so a little bit different.
Yeah, a little bit different today. Looking at the defensive side, Ledley, as well, and you know, as we know, this run of form is not something probably City fans are used to seeing. But Pep made a great point that I think in that Bournemouth game, the 4 of the central defenders weren't fit. We've got a little bit more now of what we're used to seeing in Akanji and Stones. But, I mean, you'll know as well, probably wasn't given enough credit. That's so difficult when you lose 4 key defenders for a game. How important is it for City that they have John Stones back, have Akanji back, and Kyle Walker as well coming back to full fitness?
Yeah, it's key. You know, that's your base. You know, that gives the team confidence. You know, when they have their strongest back 4 in or something similar. That gives the team, you know, a lot of confidence moving forward. And Akanji, I like him a lot. He's a player I really like. I think Guardiola's been excellent. I think he's up there as the second top goal scorer, I think, for City at the moment. So that tells you they're not scoring enough goals in the offensive positions. But that's a strong back 4 today.
Akanji's so quick, Ledley. I think that's what people don't realise, how quick he is. And one thing I was going to ask Ledley is, do we talk about the injuries of the back 4? That Bournemouth game, he knew they were going to be spinning you. It was going to be old school. They were going to be right on top of you. So he went to try and get experience in there.
Yes.
But the players hadn't really trained. They had slight injuries, there was concerns, but they sort of took a bit of a gamble and said, we'll have to go with this because that's what we've got.
Of course.
Ledley, you played a lot of your career with an injury and you were struggling. I was in the same dressing room, obviously, with you. And psychologically, when you're going to play, what's that like? Do you know, when you know you're not there and you've done that for so long, how do you deal with that? Because them players gone into that game knowing they're going to get turned around, but also they know they're physically not right. What can you do mentally?
Yeah, it's not easy, you know. I think that I tried to kind of almost brush it under the carpet and make, you know, kind of convince myself that I was fine. You know, I remember playing against, I think it was like Bobby Zamora at the time. He was a friend of mine, grew up with Bobby, and he'd be on the pitch and he'd be asking me how my knee was, you know, hasn't it? And I didn't want to talk about it. You know, once I'm on the pitch, I'm on the pitch. I don't want any weakness entering my mind.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way that's the way I kind of embraced it. But yeah, it's never nice when you know that you're not at the levels that.
Because a lot of people at home don't know what that's like, you know. And he's played. So Ledley played in midfield for England. He'd play on his weaker foot.
Yeah.
So we're looking at John Stones, or a particular defender, going to go in that role. You've gone and done it so many times at the top, haven't you?
Yeah. And it's that's the other thing as well. I think even like when we talk about the summer break, fans probably don't understand actually really what is going on behind the scenes. We just see someone on the pitch and think, well, they should be at it all the time. But you'll know that's not the case at all. And there's so many things that we're not privy to as fans that, you know, as you say, the injuries, maybe as well, actually feeling a little bit of extra tiredness as well when you're having to play every 3 days.
Yeah. No, definitely, it comes into it. You know, as I say, no player wants to. It's part and parcel of the game to have niggles. You know, we all know that. You know, there's not many games where you go in there, you're 100% with, you know, without any kind of niggles. But ideally, you want to, you know, get some consistency in your game, and it's very difficult when you're coming in, you know, and you're missing 2 games and then you're back in. So you know, if they can keep this kind of back 4 together to build some kind of consistency, then you know that'll definitely give Man City a stronger chance of retaining the Premier League again.
We know with the run of games we're coming off, Michael, what needs to be done differently, do you think, today to try and put that right and get back to winning ways against Tottenham? Was there anything you've noticed and gone? Ledley mentioned there we've been struggling maybe for goals from other players than Haaland. One area. Anything else for you?
I think it's all round. I think you can tell there's fatigue.
Yeah.
That people haven't trained as much or played as much, because later on in games we're starting to run out of steam a little bit.
Yeah.
You've seen that against Brighton, where you're thinking we're going to hang on. Shape, set up, I think is always evolving, always trying to think. But as again, we're not privy to every little bit of detail. So we'll be sort of saying, we'll sit back and say, okay, why did they play like that today when you have got players struggling? But then they'll say that's because of this, and this. We can't always know those answers. The full answer.
Yeah.
But what we've got to do is we know we've got the best manager in the world, and you have to trust that process, obviously, and we do that. But we're still looking at it. We're learning, aren't we, still, of what our side does, what our players available to do. So I think all round, I think confidence, a freshness about the side where we've sort of run out of legs, as I keep saying. We've got to be better in the turnover. We've been counter-attacked too many times. And conceding early in games. I think that's obviously very, very difficult psychologically when that starts to happen, when you're on a little bit of a bad run.
Yeah.
So it's so important, I think, just to get back to basics, try and say, well, let's work on a clean sheet today. Yeah. And then I think from there on, you do think City will score, obviously.
Speaking of that clean sheet, and just from a defensive point of view, Ledley, obviously we've said, you highlighted how key consistency is, which City haven't been lucky enough to have maybe as much this season, but Michael mentioned the counter-attacks, and it has been a lot easier to score against City this year. We'll get on to Tottenham, because obviously we know how attacking they play. But was there anything you've seen that maybe defensively City could be doing a bit better to not concede so easily or stop that counter? What could that entail?
Well, we know that City like to dominate the ball, and the other side of that is when you lose the ball, can you stop the attacks early? Maybe that's something that Pep will have to look at. How quickly they kind of win the ball back when they lose it. But Spurs, that's a strength for Spurs. Counter attack, and I expect the game to go that way today. And Pep will know that.
Is that what they'll be looking for? If City play this high line that they've brought in really, really high, that's going to be the spin they're going to try and do that wherever possible.
Yeah, I would think so. And when you set up to play against City, or when I was coaching, it was about when we win the ball, how quickly can we hurt them? How quickly can we go forward?
Would you say in between centre back and full back was one of the areas that you generally try to counter in those positions, or would it be more the one-on-ones?
I mean, when I was involved, you play through Harry. Harry was very good at coming in short, and we know Sonny likes to go the other way. And that was something that the two done very well. So he gave the centre halves a problem. Whether to go in with Harry, but knowing that Sonny's going to be going the other way. And once Harry did get the ball, he can turn and bring other people into play. So that was always a problem for City. Solanke's a little bit different to Harry. He's not going to be looking to come in as much. So, maybe it's about going direct and early and longer with the balls. Johnson's a quick player as well.
I think one thing the manager will say, we'll sit there defensively and say, well, we need to defend those areas better. But what he'll say is our possession has got to be better.
Yes.
We're losing it in key areas where we're not set up. So they are one of the things where he hates getting countered.
Yes.
So he says in this particular, he talks about the control a lot, and maybe some of those passes at the wrong time have been given away.
Yes.
And we haven't got that protection of a Rodri.
Kovacic
still wants to drive forward. That's his strength. We don't want to take that away.
Yeah.
And he does try and adapt and drop back where he can. But he's still, we're going away from those areas at times. And if we just lose it in the position, and teams have done it very quickly. They know now, quick run in an angle, and then the cross comes. I've seen so many goals, haven't we, come from wide ones.
Brentford, they're all carbon copies, really.
So that's what they're trying to do. We've got to defend crosses a little bit better, but the transition doesn't allow it. If we're in good areas, we'll even our full-backs who are sometimes coming in.
Yes.
In a 1v1 situation or a 2v1 overload, which doesn't help the situation.
No, not at all. So it's how you're saying, try and nip that source, or don't lose it in
higher up the pitch when we've got the ball, I think, is so important.
Lovely. Thank you, gents. Right, let's pause here in the studio, because just behind us, down pitch side, we can now go join Alistair Mann. He's, of course, got your commentary on the City app, so let's get his thoughts, and also the Tottenham team.
Yeah, thanks, Kel. Alongside me, and indeed on commentary duty today with me, is the former City skipper, Andy Morrison. Andy, we've been digesting the City lineup, but before we come to it, Pep Guardiola, obviously the big news, the big talking point. You said to me, interestingly, during the run of that 4 defeats, that you felt that Pep, more than any other time, would want to commit to this club, and here he is 2 weeks later having done so. Why did you feel that?
I think he's a competitor, I think he's a warrior. I think he wants to win. And it's easy when things are going great, I think, but it asks questions of you when it goes against. And some people would say the easy option would be to bow out then, but I don't think it's in his nature. I think he wants to not rebuild, but I think he wants to make sure that things are left in the right place. And that would have been hurtful in 4 defeats, something that he's not experienced, and I'm sure he'll want to make that right and make sure he gets his team back where they should be, at the top of the league and winning.
Does it send a message to the dressing room as well?
I think it sends a message to everyone, Ali. Everyone, every other team. everyone connected with the Premier League, with football. I think such is the way Pep Guardiola is seen in world football, and I think that statement really. A lot of City fans are happy, that's for sure. And I'm sure a lot of other fans are a little bit like hoping that he would go away, but he isn't.
Just a quick thought, we've had a chance to have a look at the lineup. Obviously the injuries are starting to clear up. What was the thing that caught your eye the most about today's City lineup?
Well, I just can't really work out what the midfield will be. We tend to sort of rotate into a 3-box-3 in possession, and it's whether John Stones and Rico Lewis will be them two pivots, with maybe Foden and Gundogan ahead. I'm not sure.
Let's get on to the Spurs lineup. Actually, I'll give you the Spurs lineup if the rain will permit me to do so. Vicario, Dragushin, Son the captain, Bissouma, Maddison, Udogie, and then we've got Solanke, Kulusevski, Pedro Porro, Papsar and Ben Davies. I think the thing that catches my eye is the fact that their regular centre-halves aren't involved, Van der Ven and Romero. So Haaland is up against their second-choice centre-half lineup. Significant?
Yeah, still 2v1, Ali.
True.
Still 2v1, and that's how it materialises through the game. But I think they're a big loss. I really do, Romero and Van der Ven. I think they're two exceptional centre-halves. And I think when that back four is together, with the same full-backs in place, I think that's something they're really familiar with. And it's going to be a big ask, for them to come in and, they've probably had a few days to work on that shape and the problems that City will cause. But Spurs will try and do what they do. I expect an open game. I do not expect them to do anything different. Ange is very stubborn, is that the word? This is how I'm going to do things. So, he'll live and die by the way he plays. But hopefully they get a few questions asked for them today.
Well, they're a fascinating team, Spurs. They've won 5 and they've lost 5 in the Premier League, and they've got better goal difference than City, which tells you that when they click, they're a good side. I mean, it also tells you when they don't, they can be beaten.
Yeah, I think one of the complaints from their own fan base is that they're so wide open. But I don't know how you play football the way that he wants to play, the manager Ange, and in a sense the way Pep plays, without leaving yourself open on the transition to space in behind. And if you make a mistake, if a pass goes astray when you're in good possession, you are wide open, and there's no other way. You stick to what you do, you believe in what you do, and you hope the results follow.
One player who is playing is Son. He's got an incredible record against City. I'm often asked, which player would you love to have seen in a City shirt? And I often say him, because I think he's a special talent. What is it about him that makes him such a threat today, and indeed whenever they meet City?
I think he's direct, and I think when he gets an opportunity, he's not going to turn down the chance to take somebody on and get a shot off. And he's shown on many occasions that from outside the box he's very accurate. He finds them corners. He will show you the eyes a little bit and whip things around the corner. But he wants to score goals, and he's exceptional pace, and he's been clinical against us. When hopefully in that first 5 minutes he doesn't get a chance, as we've seen on so many occasions, and he has punished us.
First home game in about a month. How big a game is this?
It's a huge game, Ali. Every game, we talk about this, every game's big for Manchester City, and the expectations that come with with this football club. So today is no different, on the back of the results that we've recently had, of course. But the pitch is going to be quick. It's going to be a wide-on game. I think it's going to be a thoroughly entertaining game. I really do today.
And your gut feeling?
3-1 win.
You thought about it. You thought about it. OK, that's Andy's prediction. It's going to be a fantastic game. That is an absolute fact. Let's get back to the studio where Michael, Ledley and Kel are waiting.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you, Andy. Remember, you can catch them on the Manchester City app for full commentary when this game kicks off at 5:30. Just before we dive into the Tottenham team, Ledley, just wondered your thoughts of Tottenham's season so far. I mean, it got off to a flying start. We had big wins against West Ham, Villa, and then obviously there was the Ipswich game. Yeah. Been a bit up and down. What's been your kind of thoughts?
Yeah, a bit inconsistent this season. The Ipswich defeat was a big loss. To play at home against Ipswich and lose that game when we could have potentially gone third in the league was a big blow. And then you got the international break, and then you got City after that. It's a tough place to go. So it's not been ideal timing for the manager to have that international break after that defeat. But Yeah, it's been a little bit inconsistent, as I say. But that's been a problem for many years now, and it's something that if we want to finish top four, that we're going to have to improve on.
It does feel though as well that Ange though is the football that he's brought to Spurs as well, and we know it makes for great games, particularly against City. When it does click, they're a force that can blow teams away, can't they, Michael?
They can. I've been to some of the games covering them at Spurs in the first half. I was just sat there going, is this real? This is exciting, brilliant games. And you don't always come away with a result for all what really we want to see. You're entertained. But now I'd say there's a little bit of a turn in the stadium where there was full support in what Ange Postecoglou was doing. Now, because the results aren't always sort of what should be expected, especially the Ipswich at home.
Yeah. That
was everybody's banker, says definitely you've got to go and win on that game to go third, as you said. But teams have worked them out, and because Ange doesn't change, you've got to find a way. We talk about Pep evolving and doing different things. Postecoglou doesn't feel like he's going to do that. He has to do some things. He's got to be a little bit tighter in possession. Sometimes later on in games, do you drop off? Do you wait? See the game out? But see, he's got some good players. I think the squad still needs strengthening for certain, but you're missing the two key centre backs.
Yeah.
I think Van der Veen's just so important with the pace of how he wants to play, and when he's missing, we have Rodri here, but there, I think that's a massive miss for them.
It's a huge blow to have both your centre halves out to come here. It's a big blow, but I think the team struggled to put two consistent good halves together this season. You know, we've seen many times where for 45 minutes they've been excellent. You know, we saw that.
How good's he, Ledley?
First game, Sonny.
How good?
Yeah, he's great. He's you know, rightly the captain now, and you know, but he's had an up and down season as well. He's you know, he's had a few injuries, a few niggles, but he's key. You know, especially coming here. He's someone who's been here, scored goals on this pitch, so he'll have that confidence with him.
Yeah, he's had a hand in 6 goals in his last 6 visits to the Etihad, which isn't the best omen for us City fans. And another man, I can't remember if we've just missed in there because I was just checking my script, but there was also a little tweet put out by Spurs around this man, Kulusevski, who is, I mean, I think I've loved him since you've signed him. I think he's been such a brilliant acquisition, but particularly against City, he's had more Premier League goals City than any other side, 5 goals and 2 assists. So another key threat down that other side as well, and someone we'll have to be wary of.
Yeah, definitely, and you know, he's played well this season. He has. He's changed his role a little bit. He's playing a little bit more inside the pitch, which I didn't really see. So, you know, for the manager to have seen that he can do that, he's been very good. But, you know, Maddison's had to miss out, and it's good to see Maddison back today. It's a big game for him.
Yeah.
You know, he's been in and out of the side, so...
It'll be interesting how they adapt, won't they? Because Kulusevski's gone in that position. Maddison's been sitting out, which you would never have said that, would you?
No.
But Kulusevski, his supply line, his goal assist this year in the Premier League, is right at the top. You know, he's a special player.
He's a threat.
I really like him. He's a threat. You don't give him any room because he can score from different ranges.
Yes.
So he's got that, or his supply line. I mean, a header on the back post, that was different. That was a big shock, wasn't it, in the stadium? So we don't really...
But what he does well is he brings a team up the pitch.
Yes.
Yeah. So, you know, in possession, he's able to keep the ball and move the team forward. You know, some of the other players are more direct, that they want to get in behind, but Kulusevski is one of them players that can dribble the ball and bring the team up the pitch. So he's going to be important today. Which
is important as well, as we know, if City like to try and keep you penned back in your own half. I wondered as well then from again a defensive point of view, we've mentioned obviously not your first 2 centre halves. How important then is Bissouma's role today in screening that back four and using his experience to hopefully maybe help the less experienced centre halves out a bit?
Yeah, it's going to be tough today because, you know, Bissouma, he's not naturally a defensive player, really. He's a very good player, you know, a ball player. So he's going to have to play an important role today to give the defence and protection, along with Sarr as well.
Yes.
And Sarr's the one who can get around the pitch with his legs, with his energy.
How are they going to do that, though, with Kulusevski and Maddison, and City create another one that comes in, whether it be a centre-back stepping in to create another midfielder? That's where they could find it tough.
Yes. I wondered then as well, if we are going to set up like that, what are Tottenham's kind of best ways then of countering that to get up the pitch? Is it what we were saying, we're quickly getting the ball, move it up as quick as you can with the pace of Son in behind?
I just feel with the manager, you know, he's got his way of playing, and he will want to kind of boss the game in his own way. I don't think he'll be looking too much about what Man City are doing.
That's amazing.
He'll be thinking,
how
if we can
we
play
don't beat-
our game, then we can go and win the game. You know, we're best when we play our game. And I believe that's the way the manager sets out. So, you know, it's going to make for a good game because there's probably two teams that want to dominate the game and play their style and win that way.
Do you know when you talk about the fullbacks as well, Porro, Udogie, how they come inside and the build-up when the goalkeeper gets it? It's a strange setup. We don't often see how he does that.
Not two.
I was wondering how the next
two.
one, and how and to try and bring the wide player down to get on it.
Yeah.
And you can block the supply line on them, and then they don't have an answer at times.
Yeah.
But Udogie goes all the way. He'll then go all the way past the opposite defence. He can go into the centre forward position.
Yeah,
And that's what's interesting. How you're going to track that, and Savinho, will be interesting whether he, what role he can do to stop it.
Yes, so legs are important, but then as well on the flip side of that, it's funny we were saying it leaves City open, but if that does happen, it then could also potentially leave Spurs open.
Same thing,
if they lose it up there and then Savio could get in behind.
Yeah, especially when you haven't got your fullbacks as protection, you lose the ball further forward, and Haaland, one ball down the side of the centre half.
I think that's the one as well. I think that's the one on Davies, that Edison we've seen so many times.
Yeah.
If the high line's there, he'll hit the one over the top. You don't see it coming. It's late. There's one short one, and then they just do it so quick, and it might not even be Haaland. It might be a phone
or a deep run from Gundogan or something.
So that's there. But I'm interested to see the setup. If how brave Spurs are going to be. That the high lines. Honestly, I can't wait to see how.
I don't think the manager's one for changing anything. I just don't see him coming here and trying to change his game plan. I think his game plan is we play our way, our style. And that will give us our best chance of winning the game.
But off that, and I understand that sometimes there is the argument from France, you have to cater it slightly here and there. But one thing Pep has always been resolute in, and he was speaking about this as well when we came up against Southampton. There's another manager there that has a belief and in a way of playing, a system, and doesn't cater or change it. Southampton carried on to try and play the ball out the back when you've got one of the teams, arguably, who are best at pressing. As much as it might be frustrating for Spurs fans, I feel you have to admire it, and if the top coaches say you stick to your principles, you've got to do that. I feel, no.
Yeah, and as I say, with the manager, he's not going to change. He's not going to change. He wants his players to continue playing out from the back. He doesn't want his keeper going long. Yeah? He wants to build from the back and get through teams that way because he believes that is our best way of winning the game, best way of creating chances. So, as I say, don't expect anything to change here.
No. And for us City fans, though, as well, and conversely for Spurs fans, you can score against this City team at the moment. So you do suddenly go, well, maybe last season where we were keeping them clean sheets, there is a real concern and City have to be wary of. Tottenham could score today, and we need to do all we can to make sure that doesn't happen.
For certain, I think the last thing I want is to give the Spurs side any confidence.
Agreed.
An early goal would be something you don't want against this team. And again, control is key. And it's expected times that Spurs will have the ball. They're going to, because that's how they're going to play.
Yeah.
And then be patient. And I think what we do see with Pep is he does have the ability to change, and he will change at times. That's the difference in the manager.
Yes.
He'll always want to play, but if Pep needs to go direct, he will. If he needs to slow it down, they will.
Yeah.
If they say, right, we're not coming out from the back anymore. And you see it later on in games, they do it. They hold it on in the corners. They have a way of times of saying, right, we now sit back and we wait. I think that's one thing maybe in the last couple of games there might have been a little bit better to hold out. The Brighton game sort of said, right, I think in hindsight, with 15 minutes here, we're struggling. We might need to just come back and just have 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's maybe hindsight in every game that we're looking, and we're trying to be slightly critical. But, I think the control is going to be key of the possession.
Massively. Right, thank you, gents. Now, we mentioned it at the start of the show, just the small matter of the best Christmas present ever, Pep Guardiola, 2-year extension. Let's hear from the legend that is Big Steve. Here he is giving us his thoughts after that announcement, and also speaking about a brand new documentary.
I feel like after the recent results, everyone was getting a little bit down, wondering what was happening. There was a cloud over the club whether Pep would sign the contract or not. And I think the timing of the club and everything's perfect. I feel like it's give everybody a lift. A manager of his standard, he's the best in the world. So to have that uncertainty whether he was going to carry on next season is not ideal. But after the recent documentary we just watched together, looking at him there, seeing how important he is, and he mentions in that about reset. And for me now, Pep signing this deal that's a perfect reset for Manchester City now to kick on and go forward this season. Look at what this football club's achieved in the last 4 years, 4 in a row titles. You don't win 4 in a row titles without mentality, and definitely not without sticking together. So there's one thing about this football club and the fans, we always stick together. You know, we sing the song, we're Manchester City, we fight to the end, you know what I mean? And that reverberates all around the club for me. Do you know what I mean? And as you've seen in the documentary, there was times when players were injured, there were times when results weren't going our way, but we didn't panic, we didn't let it distract us. We just got back to business, knuckled down, and the mentality that these players have and Pep Guardiola has instilled in them is unbelievable. But it filters through to the fans. You know, this week on social media, you know, we've been talking about you know, the mentality and what you need to win titles, and nobody knows more than us about that. So at the end of the day, yeah, you're right. We do need a mentality and togetherness now more than ever. You need to end this run. You know, people are talking about 4 defeats in a row after we've won 4 titles in a row. It makes me laugh a little bit. But no, we need to end it. You know what I mean? We need 3 points. We don't care how we get it today. With the news that Pep signed the contracts, give everyone a lift. We're going to see Rodri, I hope, today at some point with a Ballon d'Or, going to give everybody a lift. And it makes the game really, really important. And like you say, today's not about a pretty performance. It's not about anything fancy. It's about getting 3 points on the board and getting this winning run back together. And like I mentioned before, it's about reset. And today's the reset. And let's start with 3 points. Rodri deserves it. And it just shows you what this football club's about now. Me growing up in Manchester, to put a Ballon d'Or on a Manchester City player when I was a kid, he would have had to steal it. So, but now watching him win that and looking at the celebrations, especially with the unfortunate injuries he's had this season. But like I say, he's the best player on the planet at the minute for me. We miss him so much, and he deserves his ovation. He's going to get the ETIHAD today, and I can't wait to see him. I was fortunate enough to go to the premiere, and I think everybody had a tear in their eye. But it just shows you that these football players and this manager is a human being. And he noted back to COVID times when this guy had helped the team out, and he was 24 hours a day with the team. And it just shows you that we can all pull together as a football club, no matter who you are, and stick together. Whether you're a cleaning lady or some admin staff, I feel like this club treats everybody the same. And to see that side of Pep, it definitely shook me a little bit. And I think it's good to see. I think it's good to see in the modern day when footballers can be sometimes untouchable. It brings you down to earth to realise that, you know, behind the scenes, these players are looking after each other. They're looking after the staff, and the football club's in good shape.
There you go. That fills you with a bit of positivity as well, doesn't it? It's always great to hear from the legend that is Big Steve. I love getting his thoughts on all things Manchester City, so thank you for that. Outside that beautiful Pep mural, albeit in the very grey and Manchester rain, which you've probably noticed if you're watching at home. If you've just tuned in, Ledley King with me and Michael Brown here. We are building up.
You missed something there. You know Ledley's got one of those outside of the Spurs stadium as well. Exactly. He's just telling us the same artist.
Really?
Yeah.
Same artist as well?
Same artist, yeah.
It's good, isn't it?
So,
that must feel pretty amazing.
Who's just come out better, yours or Pep's?
No, mine.
Pep's is not very good.
No, I mean, mine's got my whole body on there and an image of me.
You're looking sharp as well.
Celebrating a goal.
Is it still the same now? Is it? The body's the same? Is it all?
Yeah, that's the only problem. I'm getting older and I'm looking at a young version of myself there.
At least
don't look like me anymore.
To the kids or the grandkids going, you used to look like this.
We've got to find a shot of that.
Yeah, we'll get the team on it behind the scenes. Do you know what though? It's quite a nice segue that, because obviously that there is a real marker of love, you know, adoration, appreciation from the Spurs fans. And this next item, we did just want to talk a bit more about your career, only because as well on TalkSport this week, we had none other than Edgar Davids was on there, and. You think about the teammates that he had, and he said on there that there are levels to the game, and Ledley was playing at the highest, you know, and he couldn't have endorsed you anymore as a player. Yeah. First of all, what was Edgar Davids like? Because he's such an... I remember him on the cover of FIFA.
Did you not see the bit where he mentioned me as well, no?
Well, you know, we're saving that one. Speak to producer Darryl, producer Callum, all right?
It was mad to play with him, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. You know what? It was amazing. You know, because he's an icon of the game.
Of course.
You know, I think we all grew up watching Edgar, and you know, when he come to the football club, I remember the first thing he asked me was, you know, can we win? What can we win? You know, and that was his mentality when he came in. It was great. I remember lining up in the tunnel And it was always fun to watch the opposition and how they looked at him, and you know, they was just looking at him in awe on the pitch. And you know, he was a great lad. Still speak to him quite a bit. So
class.
Yeah.
It was strange when in the training sessions, like you do certain things, and you get all the players as well are looking to see what he did.
Yeah,
and he went off and done his own little drills, like mad drills, weren't they? Do you know, in the gym, and then certain things next to the pitch that others didn't do. He just ahead of what he needed.
The day before game, like really heavy weights, and that was something that I'd never seen before. You know, he used to lift really heavy weights. I remember he used to tackle the ball in the change room, didn't he? A ball against the wall. So he's already tackling before he
everyone sort of sat there, but really you're all like that. You can't like.
You're trying to like not what he looked over.
But it was about that being a winner.
Yeah.
Like he was going, he couldn't handle not winning in the game. He'd go crazy, wouldn't he?
Loved football. Football. Really passionate about the game. I've even heard stories of him driving past cages in London and just jumping out and getting involved with kids. Yeah.
Class. Yeah. It's funny that you were, even within, you know, the kind of City's rise as well, the importance of having them mentalities. I remember, I think, Vieira being a key one when he came into that changing room and was a serial winner.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, you played, I think, maybe it was a year and a half together, possibly. What was Ledley like as a teammate?
I mean, I seen all sides of Ledley. Do you know,
What's that mean?
But you know what I mean. He's very quiet, but really they all think he doesn't have this desire. Do you know, like? But he did have a fire in his belly because he's so nice. Everyone thinks he's always nice, but on the pitch he wouldn't necessarily have it vocally, but he'd have a determination that's inside him that not everyone sees in Ledley.
Yes.
And I think that was the thing, and I think for me is the ability to what he brought is you couldn't get past him. No. Wherever it was, I couldn't anyway, but I know that was simple. But even the good, you know, the fast players, good players attacking, we had Aaron Lennon who had more pace than anything, still couldn't find a way around Ledley.
Yeah.
Do you know, you had a balance and a calmness. It's not like Rio Ferdinand, for instance, is the same, never really got flustered, never went to ground. And I think that's what, and Ledley played a lot of time there. It is, look at that.
Wow.
Amazing, huh?
So,
really good, amazing.
And like your time there as well, I mean, you obviously just must look back on it so fondly. And I also wanted to also mention England at the time as well. And I feel, and I forget about this, I don't know if an international team has had a better set of defenders. I mean, you had yourself, you had the likes of Sol Campbell in there as well. When you think of them, the defenders around at that time, how did it make you feel to know you were stood there alongside?
I mean, Terry, Ferdinand,
Rio.
Sol Campbell, there would have been Carragher, Woodgate.
That was your competition to actually get on the international side. And at times, what my biggest thing for Ledley is when he went into a tournament for England to play in midfield.
Yeah.
Do you know that, like, maybe you can't find a way of playing. You can't find a way of playing in the defence because your competition's. You say, well, you all can't play, so what do we do? We change it and get as many as we can in the team to try and be successful. But there's some competition. I think you know, certain ones in life. You think, like, how do you come over? Like, how do you get your position when you've got a Terry and a Ferdinand?
Yeah.
Luckily for me, I was a player that could maybe play in midfield.
Yeah.
And that allowed me to kind of get a position in the England team at times, which was great. But, you know, Brownie was a great teammate as well. When he come in, you know, every team needs players like him because he brings that intensity every single game. And I remember playing against Arsenal a few times, and Henri used to speak to me, and I think he used to wind him up quite a bit. He used to say,
Patrick as well.
He'd say, what's the matter with him? That's what Henri would say to me about Michael. But you needed players like that to wind up the opposition, to get them going. And that was something that I never did, but you know, it's something that Brownie was really great at and important to us. And he was a good player as well.
This thing is like, obviously Patrick Vieira came to the football club, so then I see him more around Manchester a little bit. And he's the one I remember this shot, and I'm obviously he's towering me, and I used to always get into him a little bit, give him a little bit, and then he's actually such a nice man, and he actually seemed different. But it's different on the pitch, like I say, you know, from when you finish, and that's it. You do everything on the pitch, wherever you can to gain an advantage. That was something I tried to do. When you're not necessarily as good as others, it's how do you affect it, how do you get in the team, and how do you stay in it? What can you do different for your side? And you have to adapt at times, don't you?
That's it. And it's them fine details, fine margins. A bit of a road question here, Ledley. We're harking this back to the 05-06 season when there was, and I'm sure you remember, there was this whole thing around Lasagna Gate.
Yeah.
Do you remember this?
Of course, no, of course.
So it was on the run up, of course. You know, it was getting very tight at the top there, and it was the final day, and you lost 2-1 to West Ham and needed to win. But a lot of players can tell us.
Was you around?
I think I either left in the January.
I think just before.
And then this was on, and you're looking thinking Spurs going to get in Europe, or where they're going to get to.
So yeah, we was last game of the season.
Yeah,
it was a chance to get in the top 4. I was injured at the time, shock. And I remember going to the game with...
You still played though?
Yeah, of course. Still won a match.
Yeah. I remember going to the game with Jermaine Genius and Paul Staltieri. We met up at the training ground and Jermaine said to me, "You heard about the players?" I said, "No." He said that apparently they were all ill. So we went to the stadium, to West Ham, and when we got in the change room, I was shocked just how sick everyone was. I couldn't believe they actually had to go out there and play.
Really?
Imagine having food poisoning, people throwing up everywhere, and then having to go outside and run around.
Should it have been called off?
The problem was it was the last game of the season. Everyone had to play at the same time, kick off at the same time. We couldn't change it. We tried to change it. So it was a tough one, and it just felt like it's just our luck, last game of the season, and
so close as well.
Yeah. But I'm not actually sure what actually happened to this day. I'm not sure if it was lasagna or a bug that just spread around the group. But for sure,
it's amazing how lasagna's
first thing we thought was we've been.
You would though, of course, to see that many people, obviously. I think as well for the purpose of a good story, we're going to say it's
lasagna. Yeah, it's a chef. He's an Arsenal fan.
Have they ever found the chef?
Maybe we could do a documentary just exploring lasagna game.
Explain what happened from the chef's point of view.
Great stuff. Well, let's be open. That won't be happening this season for Manchester City or Spurs, for that matter. Right. We wanted to do a quick mention because while we had the international break, I'm sure you'll have been following, our women's team have been in action pretty non-stop in the Champions League and in the league. It was a difficult loss to Chelsea, where they lost 2-0, 2 goals, very quick succession from Chelsea in the second half. But in the Champions League, and it's a competition that has eluded this women's team, well, they've done brilliantly, winning against, of course, Hanbury there in the middle of the week, which means they've qualified with 2 games to go. Who else as well, other than Bunny Shaw bagging the goals? Brownie, bar the Chelsea result, they've had a brilliant start to the season. And how fantastic is it to see them qualify so early on in the Champions League?
Yeah, fantastic. It was disappointing last week. I had the pleasure to be in the studio for MatchDay Live covering the game, and they had control for long periods, and then it was just sucker punch, counter-attack. Chelsea obviously got the goals, and there was a big disappointment, but then they had to recover, bounce back, and in Champions League gone well. I mean, first one from Bunny was a really good finish. And they're missing quite a lot of players. We've had some injuries, and it's been tough for Gareth, but I think that's the type of result and performance they needed to bounce back after a difficult weekend.
Well, so as well, I mean, you can see here that Bunny is I mean, the feet. Wouldn't like to defend against Bunny Shaw, I'm guessing.
No, not at all. I always say, when you play against strikers who are capable of scoring goals from outside the box as well, it's so hard.
It's a great goal.
Hard to do. That's great feet.
Great chop as well.
Great feet.
That chop there.
You get some strikers that are just dangerous inside the box.
Yes.
And then you get some, and for me, they're the special ones that can still cause problems outside the box as well by shooting, creating a chance and shooting. So she's definitely someone who's at the top of her game at the moment. As I say, that's fantastic goal.
Fantastic goal, fantastic for Bunny Shaw as well. I wanted to ask you though, because there was a bizarre booking for Bunny when it seemed as though, and it is being investigated, something was thrown at Bunny, but ended up being booked. And I just thought it'd be quite an opportune moment to ask you, Mal, have you had any bizarre bookings in your career?
About 147 of them. Don't have you?
No, not yet. Probably. About 140.
None of them were right. Not one of them were
all
right.
Incorrect.
I think it was more bizarre when he didn't get it.
You know what? I mean, what you're supposed to do. Do you know? I mean, come on, we need some common sense, don't we? I think that's the point here. It needs investigating, doesn't it? That's for certain.
Absolutely.
We're always trying to learn. We're always trying to look and. the players have so many different problems that people are not aware of that happen in situations, and yeah, it's mad. So yeah, I've had some strange yellow cards. That's for certain.
That's it. And like you said, it was probably more bizarre when he didn't pick up the book.
Exactly.
Did you ever have one?
Yellow card?
Yeah, yellow card.
Yeah, I got 8 in my career, I think.
How many?
No, you are joking. Is that it?
Yeah.
8?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
How many did you get?
I wasn't joking when I said 140 something. I'm not messing. Honestly, if I'm guessing, like 147, like top break.
Brilliant.
What's the ratio?
Yeah,
one every one?
Yeah. So, no, it isn't. I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot.
You'd have more in today's football, I tell you.
No, we have to know the boundaries. You only like, you know.
How many reds then?
Reds official or unofficial. Maybe 7. Maybe 7.
That's not bad.
So it weren't too
Strangely,
bad,
whenever I got a yellow card, I felt vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it just shows that he played.
play with
He played.
it.
He had to play with it. I felt like all of a sudden one.
That's just experience.
I had it quite a lot, mate. It's when you get them early, you're really on pins for quite a while. It's not good, but only 8. That's mad, isn't it?
That's an amazing achievement. I wonder as well, actually, I'm wondering, Joleon Lescott, I'll have to find that out, but we can get his thoughts. He joined Alistair Mann pitchside, of course, speaking about the Pep renewal and looking ahead to the game as well. Down to you, Ali.
Yeah, thanks, Kel. Welcome to pitchside. The rain just eased off a little bit. I'm not sure how long that's going to last. Alongside me, former City player and Premier League winner, of course, Joleon Lescott. Joleon, the only one place to start, really, the 2-year extension of Pep Guardiola. Did you feel deep down that he was going to extend his stay here?
I was hoping that was the case. I wasn't actually sure, to be fair. I thought it'd be later into the season that he would make the decision and it would be announced. But obviously, I'm delighted, not just for Man City, but for the league. I think he's brought a different energy, different way of looking at football, viewing football to England. So it's a great spectacle. Probably not so much for the contending teams in regards to the titles and honours, but on the grand perspective of English football and Man City, it's an exceptional deal.
I know he said it a little bit tongue-in-cheek that it was because of the 4 defeats in a row, and he established that was a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but the timing of it's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the timing may have been related to that a little bit more, but obviously I'm sure he's been decided in his mind for weeks, months maybe, and just held the cards close to his chest, because up until it was announced, I don't think anyone was 100% sure. I think everyone was living in hope, but again, he's made the right decision for himself and his family, and that bodes well for Man City.
Psychologically, what difference does that make to everything?
Massive difference to other clubs looking at probably players. I think they probably have to be a bit more aggressive in their transfer targets now, because you're signing for Man City and Pep Guardiola. You probably guaranteed some trophies that other teams aren't. So yeah, it's a massive acquisition for the club, and it's definitely a psychological dent to a lot of other teams.
Let's get on to today's game. 4 defeats in a row. Have City been playing better than the results suggest?
I would say so. Again, they haven't been totally unlucky though. There have been teams that have deserved to win the game, so you have to give them credit, and teams have to be at their best to beat Man City, and some of them have done that. So again, you have to respect what the opposition bring, and especially, I know it's different competitions, but the Premier League teams are very difficult to beat, and obviously with the emotion and what was regarding the Sporting Lisbon game, there was obviously going to be a difficult game too, but yeah, I'm sure every game that City go into, they're the favourites, and that's where you want to be.
So much for me saying the rain had eased off. Let's get back to today's game. I mean, Spurs come here off the back of a defeat themselves. I know it was 2 weeks ago because of the international break. How difficult a challenge is it for the Blues today?
Difficult because of, again, Spurs is always a difficult game here, regardless of who the manager is, the way they play. Very exciting games to watch. Obviously, the last time they played, there was a defeat for Man City. So they'll be coming here with a little bit more confidence than other teams coming to the Etihad. But again, they'll know they have to be at their utmost best, because if they're not, then they can get punished.
One thing we always know about these fixtures is that both teams seem to score, both teams create chances. Are we going to expect another entertaining one, do you think?
You would expect that. Again, both aggressive in their press and wanting to win the ball back high lines, so the conditions will play a factor. So I'm sure there'll be probably a little bit more caution to start off with, but as the game goes on, I'm sure there'll be goals and it'll be an expansive game.
Well, there's nothing like the weather to keep an interview a bit shorter. Joleon, thanks for your time. Let's get back to the nice, dry studio.
Oh yes, nice and dry, Ali. Thank you so much. It's very typical Manchester weather here. It is. It's actually just giving us a little break in the rain here at the Etihad Stadium. We've got 25 minutes till we kick off against Spurs. There was a quick conversation topic I wanted to bring to the table with you, gents. Is obviously we had the international break. An ex-academy product, Taylor Harwood-Bellis, scored the goal, and it just got me thinking, because there is potential now when you look to like what a future England team might look like. There's a wealth of Manchester City academy graduates in there. You've got Taylor Harwood-Bellis, Phil Foden, Cole Palmer, Delap, Rico Lewis. I mean, the list we could probably add even more. One, how amazing is that for the academy, but how exciting is that for England?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many of them. I was speaking to people this week about the actual England camp and looking how many have come through. The City Academy, it's getting stronger and stronger. I think that's fantastic. Firstly, for what the infrastructure has been put in place and now producing. So if they don't make this wonderful team, they're going to have a good career. People are coming to get them. Pep's also blooding them, bringing them, giving them the opportunities. And that's the difficulty. You can't always stay in this side, because we talked about Ledley having 2 or 3 players in your line. Cole Palmer's line was blocked. You know, so you have to move on at times because of the thing. So wonderful that we've got, you know, exciting players. He's the one, the leading light, isn't he? Phil Foden coming through that academy, being that special talent. But just going back to Harwood-Bellis and then to go away as a young boy, and he walked back into the England camp, and I speak to Kyle Walker about it, and actually he said he comes back a man. You know, difference, that he's got an aura about him, that he's gone out and played and earned the right, and he's come in different. So that's a nice development side of seeing different players develop. Rico Lewis, obviously wonderful. His flexibility, his knowledge, Ledley. How he can go into midfield, he can go left back, and go right back with the manager. That's intelligent from the academy, isn't it?
And I heard that they've been doing it from the academy. So when he comes into the first team, he's already adapted to playing that style. But for me, the sign of a good academy is not necessarily how many players come through into the first team. It's can they get a career in the game elsewhere? Because we said how difficult it is for any young player to come in and play at Man City. But as we've seen, players have left Man City and gone on to improve their career, you know, and that's the important thing, to make sure they get a career in their game. And, you know, they've had a great education playing at Man City. And like we said with Palmer, someone who's had to move on to get game time. And
turn into full internationals as well.
Look how
you know, not just it's a real plus for England, but not just England. You know?
How quickly has he turned around? You know, it's instant, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it. It's like you say, if you just get that space and the time, they'll flourish. Morgan Rogers is another one at Aston Villa as well, I think, and he was called up in the break. And like you said, it's actually, can we turn them into, you know, professionals? And I do want to try and work out. I'm pretty sure at least 13 of the Premier League teams have got at least one academy player, ex-City academy player, in their team. I mean, even Pedro Porro, I think, was one who came through City's ranks. It's unbelievable, the academy, and exciting as well for England. And also for us when we get the Rico Lewis's.
But I think what we've seen though as well is that the managers has been prepared to put them in. And I think then that becomes even stronger, because at times when we were growing up, you sort of go, well, I might not go to a Manchester City because I'm not going to get a chance, because there's the lines blocked, there's so many players, and we'll choose another one because we feel like there's a pathway to the first team quickly. But now I think that's almost gone. Do you know what?
But maybe you say
it's fine, because we can now come in and we're going to get chances here.
But maybe you say that if you're coming in a 10-year-old, you're a 10-year-old kid, and you're looking and you're thinking, oh, maybe City's too big for me to, you know, it's too big a dream for me to actually come through and make it at City. But no, you know, get your education, you know, improve as a footballer, and we've seen that you don't have to come through at City, but you can still take it elsewhere and become a great footballer.
That was a worry for me, because I felt like some of the players were only used to winning. And in a style where you're bossing the ball, you never really have it tough because you're not getting beat, to learn different styles, to go to a place that doesn't win every week.
It's very different.
You know, McAtee went to Sheffield United in the Premier League. They were getting beat every week, and he couldn't necessarily get in the team because his style didn't suit what they needed to do, but he's learned. And he's gone and he's seen a different way now. And I feel now that a lot of the players and whatever the academy have done have allowed them now to be different. And they can go to other teams and go and have them loans and go and see what they are. And I think that is the difference, isn't it? I think it's got more rounded on the style.
It's not one size fits all. It kind of it caters to the player as well. And as we say, we're seeing that across the league and across actually all 5 leagues in Europe. Now, you may or might not be aware, but we have one of the best in-house production teams in football for me, and we bring you top-class documentaries. One of my favourites, of course, is when we bring our end-of-season documentary. And you may or may not be aware, the one from our 4 in a row campaign. Together, 4 in a row was released this week over on City Plus. Now, if you want to watch it, and trust me, you're going to want to watch it because we get exclusive content and we get exclusive access to the dressing room, to Pep, to team talks like no one else. To watch it, you can just sign up to City Plus. If you use the code as well, Together4, you can get a year's subscription just for £20, so you can watch Together and all the other documentaries. And you know what? Just to whet the appetite, I'm going to bring you an exclusive clip now.
This one remains all square for now.
Keep going, boys. No matter what. Keep going. We're gonna get this. Come here, guys. Come here. Come here.
Danny, is anyone in the toilet? Let's go.
No, this is my feeling. This is my feeling right now. I say, let's go, everyone. Yeah, let's go. Let's go. This guy, let's go. My words for the staff and every the players doesn't work if you don't believe it inside. If you don't believe we're going to do it. No, now is the moment you have to prove how incredible you are as a team. It doesn't matter the consequence, you win or don't win. You have to prove yourself. You cannot go home regretting, I was not me. We cannot go home. The rest, it doesn't matter.
As we see the City boss there, that he trusts his players. He'll believe that they will come up with the solutions and find what's required.
Just wouldn't sit up for Kevin De Bruyne, but this is Bernardo Silva. Now Kevin De Bruyne. Now Erling Haaland, and Manchester City score in North London. Erling Haaland helps Manchester City step closer to the title. Kulusevski. It's a dangerous ball. Ederson had to be so brave there. There's appeals from his teammates that he's been fouled by Romero. He doesn't shirk out from challenges, does he, Ederson? Extremely brave goalkeeper. Well, he has been a very dependable deputy when called upon this season, Stefan Ortega.
Rodri backwards to the halfway line to Akanji, and Akanji under pressure, and he's lost the ball.
Still here for Son, and Son can finish.
Brings it all back, that, doesn't it? That's an exclusive clip from our brand new documentary, which looks at and brings you all the behind the scenes of last year's season. Together, 4 in the row. You can see there on your screen. You can subscribe for $4.99 a month, or if you put in Together4, you can get a full year on City Plus to watch all our exclusive content for just £20. That even might make a nice Christmas present for someone. I tell you what, it does bring it back.
What happened next? Why did we stop?
Well, sign up to City Plus, Michael, and you can find out. There we go. What was
the code again?
I'm guessing you wouldn't have spoke to Sonny after that miss. I guess it was a bit bittersweet because wanted the goal, but it did mean that Arsenal didn't win the league.
It was a strange atmosphere in the change room that season. The fans were 50-50 on whether they wanted him to actually score that goal, which was crazy. But
all the fans, wasn't it? Even on the approach, some people were saying, "I'm not even going."
Yeah,
like I don't want to go because it's like let City win.
But I do like the manager's faults. He wanted to go and win that game,
100%.
and that's how you got to be as a manager. If you want to move a team forward, it's got to be about the team and not worrying about others and what they're doing.
I think it's respect all around as well.
Yeah.
I feel like in football, if you do that, the respect's there.
Yeah.
You know, you don't let any game go.
No,
I think that's wherever you possibly can. You've got to do everything that helps the situation.
Of course.
But thank goodness Ortega made that unbelievable save, arguably save of the season. Now, we mentioned we can watch it one more time, actually.
It was a brilliant moment, this one.
I mean,
it was like
this is a goal.
Motion. He is brilliant in them situations, you know.
Unbelievable.
I think he was the find last year when he grew into a very reliable goalkeeper. He's now there if needed.
You'd have him in anywhere. And he also got called up to the German national team as well in the international break, which was so nice to see as well. But save.
It was just like it was like the title had gone. That was brilliant.
Class. Now listen, we mentioned at the start of the show we have got a very special guest with us at the ETIHAD Stadium this evening, and it is none other than our man Rodri. You can see him here. Of course, Ledley, Ballon D'Or winner and deservedly so.
Yeah, we've seen the stats and how important he is to not just Man City, but also the national team as well. Saying that he come off in the final, didn't he? And I thought, against England, I thought this is going to be our chance when he come off the pitch, but they still managed to see it through. But no, he's a fantastic player. Just we spoke about when City lose the ball and they're getting kind of cut through at times, but he's an important part of why they don't concede goals. Because his ability to break up play in there, he's physical, he's a big, strong guy as well. People don't realise just how big he is.
Yeah.
And he's probably their kind of comfort blanket. Fantastic player.
Do you know what's amazing? He's just stood there with Kovacic and like what he's won.
Yes.
Although Rodri's getting all the awards now, he's learning off him every day.
Yes.
The Kovacic just goes around with his business, underrated. He just doesn't really say anything about, and he's been and done it, got T-shirts galore, and it is great, isn't it? And Rodri comes in and you get something special. This is going to be really good to see Rodri go and get this type of award for it to come to the Premier League. We've seen clips yesterday of him going into the training ground, and that's what it's about, isn't it? To go and say, and he said to the teammates, "This is from you guys as well." And it's right, isn't it? The team have helped him. And it's not just Rodri, but it's his afternoon today. It
is indeed, and we can now bring you a little quick VT of why he has been named, of course, the Player of the Year.
It's a dream. I'm taking this step. I'm very excited. I want to grow here. I want to be many years. I want to be a better footballer.
Rodri is the most important player in the Premier League for any team.
Rodri doing what he does so well.
It's kind of a balance between both defensive and offensive.
Rodri! Left foot drive into the roof of the net!
Rodri pops in the ball.
Manchester City have won the UEFA Super Cup!
¡Se acabó! ¡Ha ganado España la Eurocopa! Sale Rodrigo, elegido mejor jugador del torneo.
Oh, that is beautiful. He didn't smack it, he caressed it.
It's a great ball from Rodri.
They are the best team in the land and all the world!
I would say playing the level that he has playing for many, many years. He's an extraordinary holding midfielder.
Akanji in the gap, good ball. Bernardo Silva round the back. No, nobody there. Rodri! Yes! Rodri! It's Rodri!
There's no other like him when he's in form like he is right now.
That is a sensational goal by Rodri. Turn into the back of the net. Beautifully by Rodri.
I think there are a few candidates, for the Ballon d'Or. I cannot deny how happy he would be if he could get it.
You speak to the players who play with him and they are just saying he is the best holding midfielder in the world right now.
To award somebody who plays for the team and not for the stats.
True legend of the game, not just of Man City, not just of the Premier League, of football.
Rodri's he can just do things other players can't.
Lost for words, he can do everything. I don't see a weakness to his game.
Times you see him do that, Rodri.
He has a habit of scoring precious goals for the club, and he may well have scored yet another one.
Of course,
it's always good when they recognize your work as individual, you know, but everything I do is to win as a team.
I think we are not going to realize until a few years what we've done, but we made history, and this is forever.
The Ballon d'Or basketball is
Rodri, the Ballon d'Or winner of 2024, which is not only incredible individual accolade, Michael Brown just saying there to me, actually, you only had the small right of taking it off Ronaldo or Messi, but I think for the club, for Manchester, and actually to see a player win the Ballon d'Or from playing in a Manchester City shirt is something I never thought I'd see, and it really is incredibly special. And that is why we're celebrating Rodri here tonight with a very special light show, and he's going to come in with the trophy as well. This is bringing you live footage from this very special presentation for our man, scorer of that goal in Istanbul, scorer of goals when we've needed it most, and the man who knits everything together, the metronome as I like to call him in Pep Guardiola's Manchester City. Rodri is of course the man we are celebrating here at the Etihad Stadium. You can read here on the screen, he received the award from former Manchester City striker George Weah. That will be a name known amongst Manchester City fans, the only other previous player to have won a Ballon d'Or. The trophy is in the middle of the pitch, and here comes the man himself, Rodri, our Ballon d'Or winner 2024.
Ballon d'Or in the middle of the pitch.
Manchester City's first winner of the Ballon d'Or. Can we talk about Rodri?
So there we have it, a special celebration for a special, special player. The first Manchester City player to win the best player in the world, the Ballon d'Or Rodri. What a special moment there. And as well, I should let you know, if you're able to get down to the Etihad Stadium or into a City store in Manchester, if you buy a Manchester City shirt, you can get Rodri printed on it for free as a celebration as well. So if you're in and around the stadium or near a City store in Manchester, we'll put Rodri on a Manchester City shirt for you for free if you buy an official shirt. Right, we saw the lads in the tunnel, gents, so I'm going to have to be quick. Predictions, please. Ledley, I'll begin with you.
Guess first.
Of course, guess first.
You know what? Let's just say I'll take a draw.
We'll take a draw.
I would take a draw right now. I think it's going to be difficult when you to come here without your two first choice centre halves. It's going to be very, very difficult. So City are definitely favourites, but yeah, I'll take a draw right now.
That's fair. I think I've been lots of goals, maybe like a 2-2, maybe or something, or a 1-1. Nice.
2-2's good.
Mr. Michael Brown, sir.
Do you know what? I should sit on the fence, play for both sides, shouldn't I? You know, and say with a draw. But I'm going to go a little bit further.
Yeah.
Ledley. I think I'm expecting a reaction from this Manchester City side, and I feel like Spurs are quite fragile. They say the two centre backs are one, so. I'm either going with 4-1 Man City. I think the reaction's coming. Possibly 4-1, maybe 4-2. So I'll stick somewhere around there.
I like that. And also as well, we didn't get to mention, Michael, as well, we've got starting to see them players come back in the starting 11. Kevin De Bruyne back on the bench, Jack Grealish on the bench. All positive signs we needed.
Very positive. There's still some youngsters there as well. When they've earned their right, they've done really well in support. But yeah, Jack Grealish is important. We need to get him back. Kevin is the one. We need to get minutes into him wherever we possibly can. I may be a bit biased. I just think Kevin's the player, isn't he? That changes everything for the remainder of this season. But do you know, whoever's on there, however you do things, it's about a result today.
Yes.
However happens, you need 3 points. It needs to go away, that run.
And when you're the opposition, you're delighted to see De Bruyne on the bench, by the way.
Yeah, of course. That basically makes you happy seeing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right, thank you so much to our special guests, Ledley King and Michael Brown. And thank you to you for watching. Alistair Mann, Andy Morrison and commentary. Get yourself onto the City app and make sure you come join us at half-time. Come on, City.
It has been almost a month since City last played here at the Etihad Stadium, and even by this club's standards, it has been a quite extraordinary few weeks. Rodri became the first blue ever to win the Ballon d'Or. City succumbed to 4 away defeats in a row before Pep Guardiola then confirmed he was extending his